Is the UK's special relationship with the United States actually worth anything anymore? With King Charles visiting the US, it certainly looks like the UK is trying to steady and perhaps smooth over the relationship with the United States. But when you examine in any actual detail what happened since Donald Trump returned to office, a very obvious pattern starts to emerge. And it's that pattern that really raises questions about how strong that relationship is. So I thought I would take this time to remind everyone of Trump and his administration's actions towards the United Kingdom since returning to office. In 2025, at the Munich Security Conference, the United States Vice President J.D. Vance openly attacked European allies, claiming Russia is not the real threat, and instead the threat comes from the UK and EU stifling free speech.
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within, the retreat of Europe from some of its most fundamental values shared with the United States of America.
This is despite Russia murderously invading Ukraine while simultaneously conducting hybrid warfare against the UK and EU. The United States National Security Strategy accuses Europe of trampling on the basic principles of democracy. This is despite the fact that Trump tried to overthrow the US 2020 election.
Now it is up to Congress to confront this egregious assault on our democracy. And after this, we're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down.
And more recently, Vance campaigned for Viktor Orban, the Hungarian Prime Minister, and a man who turned Hungary into an electoral autocracy. The same national security strategy additionally states America's desire to reset relations with Russia, even though Russia has been interfering in US elections for years now.
To recap, yesterday on the world stage in Helsinki, when asked, with Putin at his side, about Russia's meddling in the 2016 US election, Trump inexplicably sided not with US intelligence, but with Putin.
He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be.
Trump has continuously threatened to invade Greenland, which is part of the Kingdom of Denmark and a NATO ally. If Trump did this, NATO would obviously be finished, and the UK may even be forced to help defend Greenland from the US, though it's more likely the UK, along with Europe, would simply cede this territory to the US. Trump excluded the United Kingdom and Europe from Ukrainian peace negotiations with Russia, further demonstrating his apathy towards the security of supposedly close allies. Trump's Vice President Vance described the UK and France as random countries that haven't fought a war for years.
Part of it, the president knows that, look, if you want real security guarantees, if you want to actually ensure that Vladimir Putin does not invade Ukraine again, the very best security guarantee is to give Americans economic upside in the future of Ukraine. That is a way better security guarantee than 20,000 troops from some random country that hasn't fought a war in 30 or 40 years.
Despite the United Kingdom fighting alongside the United States in Afghanistan and Iraq. Senior Trump administration figures, Pete Hegseth and Vance, stated in a leaked Signal Group chat that they hate the freeloading Europeans for allegedly failing to act against the Houthi terrorist group in Yemen. This is in spite of the fact that a British refueling craft supported the US strikes. In fact, not long after this completely unfair commentary from US officials, the UK did participate in strikes on Houthi facilities. Trump is suing the BBC for $10 billion. He claims that a BBC documentary defamed him by splicing together parts of his January 6, 2021 speech. That's the speech he gave when he told supporters to march on the Capitol. I think it's glaringly obvious the intention behind this speech, which was an attempt to overthrow the US 2020 election. So essentially, this is just another attempt by Trump to silence critics. Trump has imposed tariffs on British goods, including steel, aluminium, and cars, directly impacting UK industries. Just for some context, car exports to the US raised $9 billion in 2025, which is obviously a significant sum of money to the UK's economy. One of the central justifications for the tariffs is the large trade deficit the United States has with other countries. However, the UK and the United States roughly export the same value of goods to each other. So I suppose this is just how friends treat one another. Trump said NATO soldiers stayed away from the front lines in Afghanistan, which is not true. In fact, the UK had the second highest number of military deaths during the conflict. Trump launched an attack on Iran and has been whining ever since about the UK not helping. This is despite the fact that the UK is allowing the United States to use UK air bases for defensive purposes. Because the UK is vulnerable to gas prices, the war is going to have an extremely detrimental effect to the UK's economy. The UK's economic projection has now been downgraded as a result of Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz. Trump stated that NATO faces a bad future if NATO allies don't help to secure the Strait of Hormuz. Trump said NATO wasn't there when we needed them, and they won't be there when we need them again, which is not true. The United Kingdom and the rest of NATO came to America's aid when they were attacked in the wake of 9/11. Trump called the United Kingdom's aircraft carriers toys.
The UK say that we'll send, this is 3 weeks ago, we'll send our aircraft carriers, which aren't the best aircraft carriers, by the way. They're toys compared to what we have.
A strange comment to make when he's the one requesting that these toys help with his disastrous war. It's also strange that Trump has so much to say about the UK, but when it comes to Russia helping Iran by providing the positions of US assets, he brushes it off like it's nothing. Intriguingly, the US has dropped some sanctions on Russian oil, thus benefiting the UK's most dangerous adversary. More recently, Trump is looking to rip up the trade agreement the United Kingdom struck with the US because the UK is not attacking Iran. So essentially, American agreements are worthless because as soon as you don't do exactly what they want, they threaten to tear up the deal. Trump is also threatening a large tariff on the United Kingdom if Britain rolls out a 2% digital services tax, once again demonstrating the reliable ally that the US is under Trump. Lastly, the US is looking to withdraw support over Britain's claims to the Falkland Islands. This is a direct attack on UK sovereignty and on the citizens of the Falkland Islands who overwhelmingly voted to remain part of the United Kingdom. So, to sum up, I don't blame the UK's government for attempting to smooth things over with Trump by sending the king. But the reality is, it won't make a difference. Even if Trump is smiles and compliments now, as soon as he talks to someone else, such as his best buddy Vladimir Putin, he'll revert back to attacking the UK and Europe. This is why the UK needs a powerful military, and that requires spending.